7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Last Row Podcast, a fan's perspective on sports, an ARM Media production. With your host, Brian Marshoni.
And welcome in, everybody, to the Last Row Podcast, a fan's perspective on sports. It's Brian here inside the ARM Media Solutions Studios on this Tuesday night, August the 18th, 2026. So happy to be back in the studio. I can't deny it. It feels a little bit weird. We'll get to all the feelings and everything like that here in just a moment. Real quick, want to say thank you to I Know a Guy Remodeling as well as Dubby, right here, Dubby.gg, for their continued support of the show. Remember, if you go to Dubby.gg, get their energy supplements, their energy powder, their energy drinks. You can then, at that point, use the promo code LASTROWPODCAST. And you can get 10% off of your order. Big thanks as well to our good friends over at I Know a Guy Remodeling for their continued support of the show. Greatly appreciate each and every one of them as well. All right. If you are with us tonight on YouTube or X, you can find us there at Last Row Podcast. If you're with us here on TikTok Live, welcome in at last.row.podcast. If you're with us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thank you so much at Last Row Podcast for listening, for subscribing, for continuing to do everything that you do to help make our show what it is. If you guys are in the TikTok Live chat, please make sure that you are letting me know if there's any kind of audio issues going on, anything like that, okay? Because I would greatly appreciate any and all help here tonight. As, this is a little bit, a little bit surreal. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel being back here in the studio. I wasn't for sure. I didn't know. Frankie, good evening. Mark, good evening. Let me know what the audio is like, please, if you don't mind. That way I know. That way I know if I need to adjust things or reconfigure things. Let me know, please. When something, and this applies to sports, it applies to life. When something traumatic happens and you begin to associate things together, and we're going to talk here tonight about something that San Francisco 49ers fans, I think, are legitimately concerned about. And it's regarding Christian McCaffrey and the emotional roller coaster that they have been going through with CMC. And emotional roller coasters are something that, let's just be honest here, we all go through in life. And hopefully, can everybody hear me okay? Can somebody let me know in the chat, please? Can you guys hear me okay? We're trying out a couple different things here. We're working through some things. Want to make sure everybody can hear me okay. Please let me know. That way I know. All right, let's see here real quick. Okay, good. That's coming through. Good. Okay, I like that. Sports Rio, good evening. Welcome in. Can anybody tell me if you guys can hear me? Please. Sounds fine. Thank you, Sportsville. Appreciate you. Okay, so, as I was saying, anytime anything traumatic happens, we tend to associate or disassociate certain feelings, emotions, whatever you want to call it, with said thing. And that's kind of where I am right now. I am dealing with a ton behind the scenes, as most people know. If you've followed the show for any length of time here over the last week or so. Tonight is the first time being back in the studio since everything has been turned upside down. So, it's a little bit weird for me. But we're getting back on the horse tonight, and we're riding, or we're getting back on the bike, and we're pedaling, or whatever analogy you need to use. It's good to be back home. Air quotes here. It's good to be back home. It's good to be back in front of you on the camera versus the phone. And that's exactly right, Sports Radio. Just move forward, man. And that's what it takes every day. So, let's talk sports, right? So, I want to talk here a little bit about Christian McCaffrey for a moment. And the reason why I want to do that is because he has missed a good chunk of practices already for the 49ers. And the issue here, for me, Bippin, good evening, welcome in. The issue for me here, it's really, really simple. Christian McCaffrey is injury prone. There's no other way around it. And for 49ers fans, when they made this trade for McCaffrey, they probably thought to themselves, we're getting one of the best running backs in the league. He's a dual threat. He can run. He can catch. He's fast as hell. He's from Stanford, so we know he's smart. He's got good football acumen. He comes from a good football family, so on and so forth, right? McCaffrey was injury-riddled in Carolina. He's been injury-riddled in San Francisco. Now, I truly believe that Christian McCaffrey, for everything great that he's done, and for everything great that he has accomplished, there is a massive knock on him. Mr. First Down, it is good to see you, my friend. I miss you, and it is good to see you. I will just say that. McCaffrey, for all good that he has done, is absolutely injury prone. And the 49ers know this. Yet, for some odd reason, and I don't know why this is, and I don't know if it's something to do with Kyle Shanahan, I don't know if it's something to do with John Lynch, I don't know. But they never seem to have a backup plan between the two of those guys, meaning Shanahan and Lynch. And I'm just beginning to wonder if that's not wearing thin a little bit on 49ers fans. Here's why I say that. You have an all-pro running back, MVP candidate. JT, thank you, sir. Good to see you. All-pro candidate, MVP candidate when he's healthy in Christian McCaffrey, right? We can all agree on that. However, Brock Purdy, you have Mac Jones as your backup. Doesn't set the world on fire in terms of backups, right? If you could have a better one, I think you would. But yet, when it comes to their offensive production and Kyle Shanahan, they don't seem to have anybody that is realistically going to be able to back up CMC. And I just wonder if that is something within the 49ers per se. Jersey, thank you. Appreciate you. Or if that is something, John Lynch is like. I just don't understand it. And I'm not sure exactly in terms of the 49ers, looking at, and look, it is absolutely early. I understand that. it is absolutely imperative that everybody gets through the preseason healthy, and I know that, believe me. But the fact of the matter is this: when you look at their depth chart, Jordan James and Kalen Black are the two backup running backs. That doesn't set the world on fire for me. That doesn't give me confidence in what they can do. And Reagan, you're spot on, and you took the words exactly out of my mouth. It's two different offenses, and I'm going to take it a step further. Two different offenses between when McCaffrey and Purdy are together on the field and when they're separated. You see a lot more pressure being put on Purdy when McCaffrey's not in the game. And what I mean by that, it's quite simple. McCaffrey and the running game allow Kyle Shanahan's West Coast offense, outside zone run scheme, to really flourish, right? And in this instance here, for them, everything is predicated off of the run. If you stuff the run, in other words, if you shut down McCaffrey, then you're saying, okay, Brock Purdy, you're up. Beat us. And there are some games where Purdy looks incredible and can do it. There are other games where Purdy doesn't look good. Now, the other part of this year specifically for the 49ers, and we're bringing this up because the Niners play on Thursday night against the Chargers. Here are your wide receivers right now for the Niners. You've got Mike Evans, Deebo Samuel, and Christian Kirk. Now, I'm just going to put this out there into the universe. The three wide receivers that they have, Christian Kirk, Samuel, and Evans, Christian Kirk is the youngest. What's the common denominator between all three of them? Injuries. Mike Evans always goes down. There seems to be an issue all the time with Deebo. Christian Kirk is already questionable. You look at their backups, and again, it doesn't give us any hope. Or it doesn't give 49ers fans really any hope. Because, look, right now, when you look at what they have, they're an old team. They are a very old team. And for the 49er faithful, the fans, they've got to be asking themselves, they don't have a left tackle of the future, right? Trent Williams is older, okay? Austin Pleasance is the backup. Nothing to write home about, okay? There's a lot here for the 49ers to lose. And I almost begin to wonder if maybe, just maybe, this might be their last dance as well. Because look, George Kittle's not getting any younger either. There's a lot of wear and tear on the tread on those tires, if you follow that analogy. There's a lot of miles on the car, right? So the 49ers, realistically to me, they are absolutely in a win-now type of position, a win-now mode, because they need to be absolutely in my opinion, they need to be a win-now team, because their window is closing very, very quickly. Their window is closing incredibly quickly. And Reagan says in the chat here on TikTok, and by the way, if you are with us on YouTube or TikTok Live or X Live, interact with us in the chat. We appreciate all the comments. Reagan says they and the Chiefs are the bizarro versions of each other. One side with the success and the other without. And that's exactly right. Bippin says they don't have a chance against a healthy Rams team as of now, in your opinion. They've been a contender for a similar amount of time as well. Yep, you're correct. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Jacob, good evening. Yeah, I mean, look, and let's not dismiss the fact here for a moment. They play in one of the most difficult divisions in the NFL, if not the most difficult division. In the NFC West, you've got the Seahawks, you've got the Rams, you've got the Niners, you've got the Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals, I don't expect to do anything major this year, okay? I think that's safe to say. But, be that as it may, you still have Murderer's Row with Seattle and LA. And so for the 49ers, their window is rapidly closing, in my opinion. Much the same as was pointed out in the chat earlier on with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, look, they're on their last dance. Travis Kelce more than likely is going to retire at the end of this year. Will Andy Reid be back after this year? Who knows? What about Patrick Mahomes? He's getting up there in age. Will what's his status going to be moving forward? And yeah, absolutely, it's the hardest division. The Niners have to be frustrated because they've had to go through the Eagles, and both Eagles teams have beaten the Niners and gone to the Super Bowl. It's got to be frustrating for 49ers fans, number one. Number two, it's got to be frustrating for Kyle Shanahan. Let's be honest here. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, if you will. He was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta when Atlanta led the Super Bowl 28-3 over New England. Don't forget that. From there, he went on to become the head coach of the 49ers. And he's done a phenomenal job, and he will surpass, I think he's going to surpass, being the longest tenured 49ers head coach this season. I think he's got 2 or 3 games to beat Bill Walsh. That's an incredible accomplishment. And Kyle Shanahan, in my opinion, is one of the brightest minds in the NFL. There's no question about it. He's one of the most consistent coaches on the offensive side of the ball. But the window is rapidly closing in San Francisco. And for the 49er faithful, it's a murderer's row of a division. Not to mention, you have older players. You also have and let's just call it what it is, a controversial practice area. Cody, good evening. Oh, and I just realized I completely spaced on texting you today. Good grief. I'm going to text you here in a little bit because we're going to keep this shorter tonight. For a number of reasons, but be that as it may. The 49ers practicing near an electrical substation right next to their facilities, it's something that can't be ignored because players are talking about it. Players are getting hurt constantly. Players aren't available for them. I don't necessarily know if there's a correlational effect between the two. But I know this much. Players are talking. And when players talk about things like this, it makes it a big deal. When it started, it was like, oh, okay, ha 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 ha. Funny. But the fact that you have players not wanting to go there because of injury history and or injury legend. We talk all the time on here about the mental aspect, right? So in this instance, for the 49ers and for prospective free agents for the 49ers, that substation plays a big part of it. The training staff, the training facilities play a big part in it. I just have to wonder, and I'm just putting it out there, Is this something that the 49ers, if they don't get to the Super Bowl and or win it this season, is this something that potentially looks at maybe, just maybe, regime change? I don't believe, they don't have a backup plan. Mac Jones is your backup. That's not a good backup plan, in my opinion. I'm sorry, it's just not. And furthermore, Shanahan and Lynch have been together for a very long time, and they've had a lot of success. There's no question. But when you don't have a backup plan, when you don't have somebody that you can rely on to come in if, God forbid, Brock Purdy goes down. And look, Purdy's had elbow issues. Let's not minimize that fact. Purdy has had elbow issues. And as a quarterback, having an elbow issue is not a good thing. Whether it's nerve-related, whether it's Tommy John, ulnar nerve right in here, where your funny bone, everybody thinks it's a funny bone, right? It's not. It's actually a nerve. It's called your ulnar collateral ligament, or UCL nerve. Purdy has had issues with that. When they played in Philadelphia and Purdy got hurt, when he hyperextended his arm and that UCL nerve and that ligament, that's where you get the feeling in your fingers where it's like a sleep, right? Or it's on pins and needles kind of thing. So Purdy having those issues does not help the fact. You have an aging, and I mean you have a nursing home age, if you will, in terms of football age, wide receiver core, tight end, left tackle. Your defense is old too. This is winter. This is it. Their window is closing rapidly for the 49ers. And if they don't get the job done this year by hook or by crook, I'm just going to wonder, I'm just going to have to ask the question, is that the end? Or is this the end for the 49ers? With Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. They've been incredibly successful over the time span. There's no doubt about that. But with their overall injury history, look, they have, they're an old team. I can't say it any other way. They're an old team. And I just have to wonder if this is it for the 49ers. On the flip side, let's talk about the LA Chargers for a moment. Okay? The Chargers bring in Jim Harbaugh. And Harbaugh, coming from Michigan, Harbaugh having a history, if you will, of being successful anywhere that he's gone. And that there's no debating that, whether it was San Diego State, whether it was the 49ers, whether it was Michigan, now the Chargers. He is a successful coach. There's no question. But you look at their makeup, and you look at their roster, and I have to ask the question, and it kills me to ask it because I really, really, really like Justin Herbert. I really do. I'm not a fan of his health history. He has, for lack of a better term, always has an injury. More times than not, he tries to battle through it. And you give him credit for it. But Jim Harbaugh was brought in to get them over the hump. Now, I'm not saying Harbaugh's job is in jeopardy by any means, because the front office in in Los Angeles loves him. You bring in Mike McDaniel for your OC, one of the greatest of this generation in terms of running game scheming that there is as an OC. When you have an offensive coordinator like Mike McDaniel, who Ben Johnson, head coach of the Chicago Bears, says, people want to emulate his run game because of how good it is. People try to copy it and they can't because he's so good at it. And he's right. If you look back at the history of Mike McDaniel, wherever he has been, whether it's San Francisco, whether it's Miami, now in with the Chargers, their running games are always superb. If you look at their roster, Justin Herbert, quarterback. Okay. I think everybody can agree, really good quarterback. His backup is Trey Lance. I'll repeat that. His backup is Trey Lance. Running back is Omarion Hampton, Keaton Mitchell. Okay. Wide receivers, Ladd McConkey, who after the season might not be a Charger. Quentin Johnston, first couple years in the league, had major catching and dropping issues. Trey Harris. Their tight end, Arande Gadsden. David Njoku is the backup. Now, I will tell you this much. Their offensive line, really, really good when they're healthy. You've got Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt. You've got Cole Strange, Awasika at the guards. And then you've got Tyler Biadasz as the center, who was injured today during a play in which multiple people were hurt. Offensively, they have everything they need. They just have to stay healthy. And it starts at the top with the quarterback. But then you look at the 3-4 defense that they're running. And it's an old defense. It's a very old defense with Khalil Mack on it. Derwin James. Look, I think within a year, if they get younger and they keep that offensive cohesion together with Mike McDaniel, I think they could challenge for a Super Bowl. But they have to get young, and they have to get fast, and they have to do it quickly on the defensive side of the ball. That's the area where they're struggling the most. And who's got it better than us is what Jim Harbaugh always says after every game and after every win. Who's got it better than us? Well, the Denver Broncos right now do. But if Herbert stays healthy, I truly believe they could make a run at the West this season. I really believe that. I think you're going to see Bo Nix regress a little bit. I think you're going to see Denver's defense regress a little bit. Meaning come back to the pat. I wonder about Kansas City. There is part of me that thinks that Kansas City is on their last dance, as I've said before. Travis Kelce may retire after this season. The man doesn't have to work another day for the rest of his life. His children won't have to work whenever he and the missus have a child. Those children will never have to work a day in their lives because they'll have generational wealth. Will this be Andy Reid's last year? Now that Eric Bieniemy is there, maybe Bieniemy is the heir apparent. And he very well may be. Steve Spagnuolo, I believe, is wearing out his welcome. Players typically play really well for him for a few years. Then after that, it's time to go. So the Chiefs being on their last dance, it just leaves the AFC completely wide open. And I know some people are going to say, oh, well, the Patriots are going to be back. Don't, to quote Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. Drake May has to perform. Drake May has to perform. TikToker, welcome in. He says it's Mahomes. So he can maybe adjust in a few years. What do you mean by that, TikToker? Meaning it's Mahomes is the heart and soul of that team. I understand that. But it's Andy Reid's offense. And Bieniemy is the one that's coordinating the running game. Andy Reid still calls that offense. And anybody that tells you differently is wrong. But I wonder. I truly wonder if this is it. I would not be shocked. I would absolutely not be shocked by it. I agree. He's a great quarterback that can carry a team. No question about it. But he's got to have weapons around him, number one. Number two, he's got to have an offensive line that can protect him. If Andy Reid were to leave, and let's just say Eric Bieniemy takes over, it's going to be a similar offense, but you may have some different tendencies. If the offensive line isn't good, that's the way you beat Kansas City. That's the way you get to Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't like getting hit. He doesn't like getting his jersey dirty. We saw that with the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl, where Vic Fangio had his way with Patrick Mahomes. We saw it in Tampa Bay, when Tampa Bay beat the Chiefs. They bullied them. That offensive line didn't stand a chance. So, again, I'm just saying, this is their last run. So you have the Broncos, the Chiefs, and the Chargers all vying for playoff position. I just have to wonder who's going to be the odd team left out. Because don't forget, you've got the AFC South, you've got the AFC North, you've got the AFC East. Buffalo, you figure, is going to be right there. In terms of the North, I think Pittsburgh's going to give Baltimore a run for their money. I think in the AFC South, it's Indy's to lose. It's Indy's to lose at this point, in my opinion. And if Shane Steichen doesn't get off to a good start, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a very, very, very big problem. I also think Houston is right there too. So you're going to have Buffalo and New England, realistically, from the East. Those two will be jockeying for the division. You're going to have Pittsburgh and Baltimore. You're going to have Indianapolis and I think Houston this year in the South. And then in the West, you've got three teams vying for realistically one spot. I'm just telling you, I think unless if the NFL expands the playoffs, which, I'm sure the NFL would do, but you're trying to fit 10 pounds of bleep in a 1 pound box. You know what I mean? You've got teams trying to get into the playoffs, and there's no real good, easy way in because the AFC is so difficult. You look at the NFC, you've got Dallas in the East, or Washington, or New York, or Philly. That's a Philly division, in my opinion. You got the Bears in the North, but you also have Green Bay and Detroit fighting. You've got Tampa Bay versus Carolina in the South, and you've got the Rams, the Seahawks, and the 49ers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You've got 10 playoff teams vying for, supremacy. And you look at the playoffs, and I felt just like Jim Moore when I said that, so I apologize. But you look at the playoff situation here. You've got, you've got a number of teams. You've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You've got 7 teams. So you've got 10 teams trying to vie for 7 spots. You've got your 4 division winners and then your 3 wild cards, right? And realistically, it just does not make sense to me. But I'm telling you right here and now, folks, when you've got teams that are as good as these teams are in the AFC, boy, does it make it hard. The Saints swept the Panthers, and I think it's between the Saints and the Bucks. TikToker, you and I are going to agree to disagree on that. Because I think Jordan Tyson, the young, incredibly talented rookie for the Saints, is out now for a few months, per Ian Rappaport earlier on today, due to an injury that he sustained at camp. Tampa Bay has no defense. Todd Bowles is on the hot seat. Baker's not happy. That's a train wreck in Tampa Bay. That's why I think you're going to have, realistically, it's going to come down to, in the NFC, you're going to have, in my opinion, in the South, it's going to be Carolina or Tampa, but I think Carolina's going to run away with it. The Saints still have Olave. Yeah, look, I get that, but he's also older and he's also injury prone. I had him on my fantasy squad last year, and look, at certain games he was a savior for me. There's no question. But he's got to have a good quarterback to throw it, to receive the ball from, and I don't believe Tyler Shugg is that guy. I just don't. But we'll see. This is why they play the games, ladies and gents. This is why they play these games. All right. I want to talk real quick, if we can, about Major League Baseball. And I just want to say this right here and now. If you have not seen the various angles of the Pete Crow Armstrong walk-off home run last night against the White Sox in the 10th inning, he is by far the National League MVP. It pisses people off how good he is at baseball. And yes, he's a little self-absorbent, he's a little arrogant, he's a little cocky. Nothing wrong with that when you back it up. Armstrong has now joined the 30-30 club in multiple years, and he has absolutely become, and I'm gonna put this out here because it was said by a guy that was on the national radio. Colin Cowherd said, and I quote, "Pete Crow Armstrong's the best player in baseball." And he's not wrong. His game last night was one for the history books. His game last night was so good that it literally has rewritten history. And with him doing that, he had his game last night. He continues it tonight with another home run. So he is single-handedly getting hot at I don't want to say the right time, because you want him hot at the end of September, going into October. But Pete Crow Armstrong is having a year. And he's got 30 home runs, tied for 7th in the National League, 78 RBIs. His OPS is 929. I mean, you look at his stats. He is as good as it gets right now in the National League. And, again, 30 home runs, 78 RBIs, 66 walks. He's got 31 stolen bases. I mean, he's just absolutely being incredible. And right now, he's a 7.7 WAR player, wins above replacement. Meaning, if you were to get rid of him, you would lose 7 wins. Or because of him, you have 7 wins. Pete Crow Armstrong is that good, ladies and gents. Now, let's talk here, if I may, and I'll bring it up here because TikToker brought it up. He thinks the MVP is Ohtani. I'm sorry, I don't. I think that Pete Crow Armstrong, if the Cubs didn't have PCA, they would not be in the situation that they're in right now. And we would be talking about potentially Craig Counsell not being back. Now, you look at what Shohei Ohtani has done, and there's no question. Look, he and Pete, it's neck and neck between the two of them. But a lot of national writers are saying that it's going to be PCA because he's been more consistent this year. Now, Ohtani on the year. Okay, Shohei's got 29 home runs, 78 knocked in, batting .295, OPS of .948. You look at the WAR for him, he's a 3-win player this year. 3.7, so he's a 4-WAR player. PCA is almost an 8-WAR player. That's the difference, and that's why PCA will be your MVP. And Cub fans know it, and they're feeling it. And speaking of the Cubs, they're currently trailing the White Sox, who, look, the White Sox last night made the biggest mistake ever. They pitched to PCA with the bases open and the game on the line. And it came back to bite them. And their manager, Will Venable, who has done a really good job this year, said last night that, they were gonna pitch to PCA and they were gonna walk Suzuki. Well, they didn't get the chance to walk Suzuki. They didn't get the chance to walk Seiya because PCA ended the game. He started the game last night with a homer. He ended it with a homer. 5 total bases, a stolen base, multiple RBIs. Just an incredible night last night for Pete Crow Armstrong. All right, gang, that's going to put an end to this abbreviated edition of the Last Row Podcast. I want to thank you so much for listening, for being part of the show. We will be back with you on Thursday night. On Thursday evening, we will be back here in studio, ready, willing, and able to bring you all of the sports news, including the San Francisco 49ers LA Charger preseason game, because this starts week 2 of preseason. I'm looking forward to it. Again, if you need an energy pickup, if you need a boost, all natural, no dyes, FDA approved, Dubby.gg. Make sure you go there. Order some product. When you do so, use the promo code LASTROWPODCAST, all one word, and you can get 10% off of that order. I'm drinking the stuff daily, guys, right now because I need the energy in the mornings. And I will tell you this, the flavors are incredible. I've got the sherbet, the rainbow sherbet, which tastes just like ice cream, which for a fat guy like me, that's a good thing. So I'm just telling you right here and now. Make sure you go there. Make sure you utilize, easy for me to say, the promo code LASTROWPODCAST. Again, we will be back with you on Thursday night this week. Until then, I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for participating in America's fan-driven sports show where it's real fans, real talk, and you are front row to it all, right here in the Last Row Podcast. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.